Hey, it's Huck, and I gotta tell you, it's hotter than hell around here. Little did I realize when I decided last week that I was going to start making videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday that I would pick a week to launch this effort when the temperatures around here would rival those of Death Valley. And it didn't help that in order to make one of those videos this week, I had the bright idea of venturing 25 miles from home out to Hookman's Lair, which in this area happens to be nestled inside a clearing of a hot, humid expanse of like 500 acres of forest. Then, when I get there and amble all the way into this clearing, I discover that I didn't have a videotape in my camera. So I had to come all the way back home, get a videotape, and go back. I come home to begin editing the videotape and discover that I'd forgotten to turn the safety off on the camera, so I captured about a total of 10 seconds of video. To make matters worse, I had some projects I had to attend to this week, including replacing a basement window. What I discovered after pulling the window frame out of the wall was that the metal framing in the wall had rusted away. And after working an hour or two to remove all of the rust with a chisel and a wire brush, I was left with a nearly 1-inch gap below the window frame. Despite my best efforts to address this gap below the window, I still managed to break the window pane reinstalling it. It's just going to have to do until I can somehow come up with enough money to get someone out here and replace the whole damn thing with glass block. The other project was finishing a landscaping effort I had begun earlier this year in my front yard. You see, our gas-powered trimmer, weed eater, had broken about a year ago, and my little riding lawnmower is too wide to cut the grass in between these flower beds and trees I have in the front yard. So my bright idea was just to create one big flower bed that encompassed the tree and the 2 flower beds and the lilies growing in the middle, so there was no trimming to do at all. Now, it's taken me since April to save up the money to buy the few bags of black mulch and a couple of perennial plants I needed to complete this project. And those of you who are familiar with my Help Huck and His Mom fund know just how money tight is around here. Anyway, here it is. Let me know what you think. So, anyway, forgive me if I don't launch into one of my typical tirades today. It's been a long, hot week. My thoughts all along were that Fridays would be a good day to do something a little different with this channel. Maybe a Republican Putz Award of the Week. Or, better yet, maybe an interactive video on a particular topic that allows you, my viewers, to actually annotate the video itself with your comments. And maybe some weeks just highlighting some absurd, off-the-wall, little reported news story that comes to my attention. And I found several such stories that would qualify for this week. One was a headline I saw about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the son of the late Senator Robert Kennedy, who apparently had violated some federal law. Now, Mr. Kennedy, for those of you who are uninformed, has devoted much of his adult life to environmental issues and activism. So, when I saw this headline, I just assumed that Mr. Kennedy had gotten himself involved in some protest or other activist encounter that got himself arrested. After all, on February 13th of this year, Mr. Kennedy was arrested along with some other environmentalists protesting in front of the White House about the Keystone XL pipeline project. But no, apparently his offense was that Mr. Kennedy and his family were boating somewhere off the coast of Massachusetts when they encountered a sea turtle in distress, somehow entangled in a buoy line. Mr. Kennedy and another family member dove into the water and disentangled this distressed, endangered sea turtle and set it free. This, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, is a violation of the Endangered Species Act, which says you cannot touch or handle any endangered or protected species. Now, Kennedy, for his part, did apologize, saying that he had no idea that rescuing an animal in this situation was a violation of federal law. The NOAA says that Kennedy should have just alerted federal authorities to send a rescue team out to handle the situation themselves. And the NOAA says that this law is designed to protect people as well as the animals, as in this case, the sea turtle weighed something like 500 pounds. It's possible that the Kennedys themselves could have got entangled in this line. The sea turtle could have dove down to the seafloor, drowning one of its rescuers. Now, I don't know about you, but what do you suppose the chances are that anyone in a similar situation is going to know who to call, or even if they do, is going to result in getting anyone to the scene in time to actually save the animal in distress? I'm thinking maybe under these circumstances, the law ought to be waived, but what do you think? And the other topic that caught my eye this week was a news report of a British teen who apparently at the age of 16 back in 2003 had won the national lottery, netting something a little over $2 million. This week, it was reported that, well, here we are 10 years later and the young woman is basically broke, down to maybe a few $1,000s from her winnings. She blames her current situation on some reckless spending, including 2 breast implants and a small fortune spent on drugs, particularly cocaine. She says whatever the case was, the money never really brought her happiness. In fact, she admits to attempting suicide no less than 4 times in the last 10 years. But now that the money is basically gone, she says she's fine again. The young woman in question, Callie Rogers, says that being a teenager was just too young to come into so much sudden wealth. But personally, I have a feeling that age had very little to do with it. At least not if the reports are true of other lottery winners of all ages who seem to spend this money like there's no tomorrow. So my question to you is, why do you think this is so common among lottery winners, that they can't hold on to this money or invest it properly and seem to let it slip through their fingers within a few years? And what would you do differently if you suddenly were lucky enough to find yourself the winner of millions of dollars? Anyway, that's it for today. I'm Huck. I really look forward to hearing your comments if you'll take the time to comment below. And just a reminder, you can follow me on Twitter at HuckFin22. And I promise to follow you. I'd love to get caught up on what's going on in your neck of the woods. See you on Monday.